Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second week of Obsidian October. I'm glad to have you all here. Hi, everyone. I'm looking at the comment section. Hi, everyone. So this is live. If you have any questions during this event, I will be able to see them. So if something is not clear or you want me to repeat something, feel free to ask in the chat, and hopefully I will see it. If not, just wait a little bit and I'll get right back to you. So I hope that you've started to familiarize yourself with plugin development for Obsidian. Maybe you're well on your way, and if so, that's awesome. And if you didn't tune in last week, we looked at how you could get started with building a plugin using a official sample plugin, but our plugin didn't do much. It's basically an empty plugin. We saw a few pop-ups with some text, but nothing more than that. So this time I will learn. I will show you how to do a little bit more. And most likely, you want to be able to let the user interact with your plugin in some way, right? If it's to start something, start a command, maybe you want them to do something in the editor, something that is initiated by the user, right? So that's what we'll be looking at this week. So during the first half, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a short tutorial on different ways and capabilities for user input. For the second half, I will be having with me a guest speaker, Sam Morrison. I'm super excited to be having him here. And he's going to be talking about the Templator plugin. So feel free to stay tuned. We will be having a short break between. So where you will get a chance to stretch your legs, fill up on your favorite beverage, and get right back. I hope that you're as excited as I am. So let's get started, shall we? So let's bring up where we left off last time. So let's do it like that. So here I have with me a code editor on the left, and I have my Obsidian Vault here on the right. So this is kind of where we left off last time, where we have a very, very minimal plugin where we can do things like we can add a notice that says hello, and you can see that it reloads as soon as I make a change. And the reason it does that is because I am constantly rebuilding my files. You can see that in the terminal below. And I have a plugin called Hot Reload, which listens to those changes to my plugin and automatically restarts my plugin. So this gives me a really nice workflow for working with plugins. So what kind of capabilities do we have for accepting user inputs? Well, there's quite a few. And the common denominator for them is that you all configure them in this onload function. And so that's what we will be doing. And the first thing that we will be looking at is what's called a ribbon action. So the ribbon is this side menu that you see here on the left side of Obsidian. So you can see right here, we have, we can insert templates. We basically have a set of buttons here, and we would like to add another one so that we can let the user trigger our plugin. And so since this is a spooky plugin in time for Halloween, I'm gonna scare the user. So just a little boo there. There, wonderful. So this is now a notice. It tells me something when I load the plugin, but I want to trigger it using what's called a ribbon action. So the way I do that is I register commands and other features and capabilities inside this onload function here. And I do that using this and then a dot. And here, if you're using Visual Studio Code, you can see what things I can add here. So you can see that you have things like commands, setting bars, status bar, items, and so on. But in this case, I want to add a ribbon icon. So I select that. And that's going to take a few parameters. The one being an icon. So what icons are available? Well, turns out you can go and check that out if we open a browser. Let's see if we find one. So let's see if we can start a browser here. There it is. So Obsidian is using a library called Lucid. So let's go there. So at this website, lucid.dev, you can see all the available icons here. So for example, I want something, like an eye, and you see that I have plenty of options to do there, like files and folders. Anything you can imagine. So you can see the ID of the icon right here. So in this case, I want to create an action that's called peek into the dark, because that's what you do during Halloween. It's dark constantly, especially here in Sweden. So I'm going to use the eye for that. I think that's pretty appropriate. I'm going to put an eye as the first parameter. I'm going to set a title, which is going to be there when you hover the icon. So it's going to be peek into the dark. Very exciting. And then the last one is a callback, where I can do the action. So in this case, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say boo. And you see now that nothing happened when I reloaded it, but now I have an additional icon here in the side menu. So if I click that, now you get spooked, right? Which is awesome. So ribbon icons is a great way to start. This is if you just want to quickly start your thing, whether it's syncing something, or if you want to insert something in the editor, or what you might want to do, ribbon actions is a great place to start. Also, they're very minimal. You basically have a button which has a callback. The next thing I wanted to show you is called commands. And commands is a very central part of Obsidian, and you've probably used quite a few of them. And so what we're going to do here is that we're going to add a command. And let me just first show you what a command looks like. So if I go back to Obsidian here and I hit, in my case, I'm on a Mac, so I hit Command P. And here I find a list of all the different commands that I have available. Oh, I see that let's remove. So these two are a little bit different. So one major difference is that commands you can attach hotkeys to. So you can let users bind a keyboard shortcut to your command, which is kind of nice. Um, and so what else do we have? Well, the command is actually more versatile than that, because so if you're going to be peeking into the dark, it needs to be dark. So that means that you can't really look into the dark until a certain time of the day, right? During the night. So what we can do is that we can do what's called a conditional command, which is only available during a certain condition, whether a condition is met. And the only thing we need to do is that we change this callback to a check callback. And what does that do? Well, first of all, it accepts a parameter, which is called checking. So the interesting thing about this checking parameter is that it actually executes twice. So this callback is going to run twice. The first time, it's going to run with checking set to true, and which means that the function needs to check whether it's able to run the command, and then following up that with checking set to false, where you actually run the command. So it kind of gives you a preliminary check before we can do it. So what can we do then? Well, let's see what we have. So I kind of want to know if it's past dark, and in this case, I'm just going to check what are the current hour of the day, which I can get from the current time and the hour. And I'm going to check whether that is, I don't know, bigger than 23 maybe. So this is 11 p.m. After that gets dark, and we want to check first if it is past dark. Then we want to return true, right? And otherwise, we want to return false. And what we want to do now is that this will be run twice now. And what we want to do is that we look at this checking parameter to see if I can actually, if this is a check mode or if it's the actual action mode, so to say. So what I can do now is that if I check whether it's not a checking mode, then I want to actually run my command, my action. So let's see if I do the same thing here, called the boo one. And if not, either way, I'm going to return true. So whether or not it's in checking mode, I'm going to return true. And if it's not in the past, then past dark, then I'm just going to return false. So this kind of gives you a chance to, for another plugin, it could be that if you haven't configured credentials, you won't be able to query your APIs or something like that. So let's see now if I can run this command. So as you see now, it's not showing up. It's because it's not past 11 p.m. where I'm at. But the thing is, I live in Sweden, very close to the polar circle. It gets dark. It is very much pitch black here right now. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 19 because we're going to be scaring people at 7 p.m. here. So let's see if that works. Yes, now it shows up, which is great. So now we have a conditional command that only runs past dark. So that's a conditional check callback or a conditional command. So these are very versatile if you have certain conditions that need to be met before you run the actual command. You also have something called an editor callback, and this is a callback that can only run in the editor. So in a way, it's kind of like a check callback in the sense that it will automatically check that whether you are in the editor or not. Very cool. So what have we here? So I actually want to use a edit callback here. I'm going to create another command here, actually. So I'm going to copy this and start a new command down here. So what do I want to do here? Well, for Halloween, I want to start decorating stuff. And I love pumpkins for Halloween. So I'm going to do a kind of decoration where I'm going to decorate my notes with some pumpkins, which is going to look absolutely fantastic. So it's going to called decorate here. And let's remove the stuff in here. And let's use the editor callback here. So the editor callback takes two parameters here. You can get the editor and the markdown view, and you're able to access them right away. So let's see now if I do something like the notice in here, right? This is not going to run here. So we're not going to be able to see this because we're not actually in an editor, right? So I'm going to open up another note here. Let's use this one. So as you see, we have a few pumpkins here already, but I absolutely love pumpkins. We're going to add a few more. So what I can do here, I can access my document, my notes contents directly from in here. So if I hit get value here, I'm actually going to get the entire contents of the note. So I can store that in a variable here, for example. And so I'm actually going to copy paste a regular expression here, which is a way for me to match a certain part of the document. So let's see if I can add that here. It's going to look something like that. And next, I'm going to be passing it a callback. So what I will be doing here, let me just explain it real quick. So I'm getting the value of I'm getting a string value that contains my entire note. And in that note, I want to replace every line that starts with a hashtag. And I want to replace by adding a pumpkin at the end. So I'm going to look at every match. And for every match, I want to add a little pumpkin. Just gonna get the pumpkin from my little stash of pumpkins here in the back. Cool. So what this is going to do is that it's going to look for all basically headings in my document, and it's going to add a pumpkin to every match and replace that. Very cool. So the next thing we need to do is that we need to update the value of the editor. So I can do that with the set value instead. Pass the updated contents that we made. So let's see now if we can run this. So now I'm actually in an editor, and let's see if we can find the decorate command. Here it is. So if I hit that, we're going to be adding a few pumpkins to our headings. Very cool. So that's something that you can do with an editor callback. So you can do this with a regular callback. Nothing's stopping you. It's just a helpful way to because it actually gives you access to the editor instance and the view right away. So you don't actually have to get them yourself. And it will only run when you're actually inside of an editor. So I'm just going to see if we have any questions so far. Yeah, so we will be talking about Templator in the second half of this session. So stay put, and we will have some templating goodness for you. Awesome. So let's see what we have. This is basically the two ways of triggering actions inside your plugin. And we do have some other ways of accepting user input as well, such as modals, for example. A modal is a different way of where you can get basically a dialogue and you accept user input from there. We won't cover modals today, but we will in a future session. So feel free to tune in later. This has kind of been a starting point for how to add commands and ribbon actions to your plugin. And I hope that you will experiment and add some of your own. And yeah, really cool that you wanted to join us. I will be taking a short break. And once I'm back, I'm going to be bringing Sam Morrison with me, who's going to be talking about the Templator plugin. Very cool. So don't go anywhere unless you're filling up on coffee, water, or whatever you may have. Awesome. See you in a bit. So hi and welcome back. Hope you filled up of your drink of choice. So I am super excited to introduce our next guest. So with me, I have the author of the Templator, main maintainer of the Templator plugin, Sam Morrison. Very good to have you here. So Sam is actually the youngest child of Hamfast and Bella Gamgee, and he has many siblings. He's a gardener by trade and seems to be a simple hobbit of simple speech. But the love of elves, gift of poetry, and belief that the world contained greater wonders sets them apart. As punishment, though, for being helpful in Discord about the power of Templator, Silent Void chose Sam to be the GitHub repository's companion. But Sam couldn't handle the questions, goblins, and cave trolls alone, and thus began the Fellowship of the Plugin. Sounds like you've embarked on quite the journey.
It is an everlasting journey. Sorry, I can't see a thing with these glasses, so I'm gonna swap them out. Hey, Marcus, good to see you.
Good to see you. So you're maintaining the Templator plugin, as I'm sure that a lot of people know about. How, how did that
Yeah.
happen?
How did it happen? So for folks who don't know, Templator is this beast of a plugin that lets you essentially run code inside Obsidian to add text and do a bunch of different stuff. I fell in love with Templator really early when it was first released, and I write a little plugin. I wrote a little plugin. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Buttons. It's called the Buttons plugin. And Templator and Buttons are like butter and corn on the cob. They work really, really well together. So I got really into Templator and wrote a bunch, and then just started answering questions that people had in the OMG Discord. We got our nice little Templator thread, and I just wanted to help people out because it's can be very simple to do something in Templator, and then the complexity level, almost like writing a plugin, your complexity level can ramp up pretty quickly. So helping people out, and Silent Void, the Templar Prime, got very busy and could no longer sort of keep up, and we were like over 100 issues deep in the GitHub repository. And
Wow.
yeah, so just I think we're at like 80 now, so it's not like I've done, anytime I try and solve some, there's more show up. But yeah, we started chatting, and they made me a maintainer, and I was really scared when I first got it, because it is a very big, complex plugin. But now I'm at the point where I'm like comfortable enough to keep the lights on, keep the room clean, and like not break it for anybody. Oh, thanks, Play Comics. Yay! It's one of my favorites too.
Well, so it's interesting because you're not actually the original author of the plugin, but you
No.
are one of the main maintainers, which is kind of interesting. 'Cause you don't actually have to build the plugin yourself to actually help out and contribute to one.
Yeah, there's a huge spectrum of ways anybody can contribute to a plugin, and keeping it going, helping other people, and I got a few different ways if we want to sort of get into some of the different ways people can help with plugins in general, or do you want to like look at some stuff in Templator and
Ooh, I would actually love to see something in Templator because I
okay.
think that maybe not everyone knows about it, and it might be useful to see some use cases, and maybe you have some nice nuggets for those who are
Okay.
available,
Yeah.
have tried it out, but
Oh, we'll give it a quick. I've got a few quick examples of things you can do. So let me just share my screen here,
mhm,
and then I think you can bring that up.
yeah.
Um, so I figured we'd start with the most, what most people use Templator for when they first get started, which is to set up a daily note template. There's the daily notes core plugin and the templates core plugin that gets you a lot of functionality, but then there's Templator that helps extend that functionality out. So yeah, I was busy making button memes, just so. So one thing you might want to do in your daily note is say hello to yourself. And so this is probably the simplest templator we'll ever get. This thing you see inside here, that's a templator command. So it's a alligator. I don't know what, I just call them alligator brackets and a %sign. And then here is a templator method. And one fun thing about Templator is, oops, if I can type it properly, there is an autocomplete for the commands that exist. So that's a fun way to explore what's possible. And then also the docs are actually generated from that. The autocomplete and the docs are the same. So you can go into the docs. But all this does is grab today's date, and then the argument in there is a formatting. So it's just formatting, and I'm saying hello to myself. Then what I see a lot of people do is they want links to their previous daily note and their next daily note. And so can I zoom in? Yeah, I can try. I don't actually know if I can make this any bigger. Let me try and make it even.
I think you can hit Command plus. That works for me, I think.
Yeah, I just don't know what the plus key is on my keyboard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
that's complicated. It's too complicated.
we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah. So hopefully, Luke, that's bigger and big enough to see. Maybe I can even make the window a little larger, wider. Okay.
So,
So
a tip here, you can also, of course, full screen the screencast as well. So, because you haven't.
Yep. Full screen me. So anyway, this next little snippet gives us a link to the yesterday's and tomorrow's daily note. And then finally, I wanted to just get slightly more complex with this daily note. And so what we're going to do is get a random note from our vault and show that as a link on the daily note. So by the way, I've published this and the other demo on my blog, and I'll post the links to those for folks who want to read through. So just quickly, this little magic syntax here is where you jump from your regular templator into the land of magic and fairies and elves. That little asterisk there says that this is actually a JavaScript templator command. And so you can now run JavaScript right on your notes and have it do processing stuff. The next line here, const files app.vault.get files. Well, you may go through this, Marcus, like in the plugin writing demo part. App is actually a way to access into Obsidian's API directly from Templator. Down here, I have the console. You're not going to be able to see me right, but if I type app into the dev console, I actually have access to the full set of Obsidian. And this is how I learned how to write anything in Templator or even in plugins. I opened the dev console and I just typed app and was like, oh, what's this? What's there?
It's a good way.
So this just gets all the files in the vault. Then I'm doing some simple JS here to grab a random file from the array of files that are returned. And then the other neat thing here is anytime you cast a variable in a Templator command, that variable is available elsewhere in your note. So here is the final thing. Today's random note is random note. So if I just hit, actually, let's go back to my homepage here because I created a button that fires the command to create my daily note. So I'm just going to click that button and boom, there we go. That Templator script was converted into this daily note. I can navigate to yesterday's daily note, tomorrow's daily note, and my random note is Blade Runner. Now, one thing that I think is really important is a lot of people get stuck with this linking in that if you hit tomorrow, it doesn't actually, it just it creates a blank note based on because it's just it's not triggering the daily notes script or command. So one thing you can do, this is your Templator pro tip, is in Templator you can create what are called folder. Where are they? You can create folder templates here. Folder templates. So I'm going to add a new folder template. This is probably like so tiny for the people watching, but all my daily notes are in the daily folder. And then I can create my daily note template in the daily folder. Do I close that? Now when I hit tomorrow, because that's a note being made in my daily template folder, Templator goes, oh, I want to add the daily note template to that note, and it automatically creates it for me. You follow?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's one other thing though, is like if you do the logic that I put in that demo, these dates are all going to be wrong, right? Because it was set to now. So there's one other quick thing here, which is the tp.date.now takes a couple other arguments. And so it takes it takes the format you want. It takes the offset. So if I go back here, this -1, that's an offset. So that's actually saying, sorry, it's jumping around like a jumping bean. That's the offset. So that's saying the date now 1 minus 1 day, so yesterday, or plus 1 day tomorrow. But then you can also add a date for a reference date. So what date is actually now? And because all of my daily notes are titled with a date format, I can use tp.file.title to grab the title of the note, and then I just need to tell it that is in this date format, tp.month, oops, live typing, day, right? And so now this logic is actually not going to say what is today. It's going to say what is the date defined in the title of the note, and update the dates accordingly. So that's how you can do a little bit of a fancier daily note with Templator.
Very cool. I mean, this is way beyond what I've done with Templator so far. So definitely,
really?
yeah. I'm still using the built-in one. I really need to up my game here, I feel.
Well, I can do we want to go one level deeper? Do we have
I
time to go one level deeper?
I think so.
Okay.
I think the audience would love it. Actually, I think that
All
we
right.
have some hardcore template people in
Hardcore.
here.
Hardcore. Okay, so
Maybe have
logging.
do you have a one really good nugget or?
We've got so many really good nuggets, like almost too many. I'll do this one quickly, and then we could talk about helping to contribute
Oh yeah,
to
yeah.
plugins.
I see that.
So this one is, if I go back to that daily note there, you'll notice I put a header called log. And something I like to do is actually create a running log with a timestamp based on things that are happening in my day. So this is the template code to create that log, and it's only slightly more complex than what we've been through so far. So again, I'm using the fancy asterisk to say this is a awesome JavaScript template command. The first thing I need to do is grab the T file. So I don't know if you've gone through T files yet in the plugin
Not yet.
tutorial. Okay. So think of a T file as every note in your vault has a T file, which is just an object that contains information about that note, where it is in the vault, what its name is. But in order to read and write files using Obsidian, the sort of the Obsidian API, you need to grab the T file. You have to write based on the T file. So what this does is Templator has a built-in method called find T file that actually tries to grab the T file for a note based on the note's title. So all I'm doing here is I'm finding the T file, and I'm using, again, date.now because my daily notes are titled based on this date format. So this will return the T file for the daily note for today. The next thing is I want to make sure I have that file. So I wrap this in an if statement, but I'm going to use tp.system.prompt to fire a prompt modal to myself that I can write text into. And the text that is returned is stored in this variable logged item. So I'm doing that. And I'm using tp.date.now to grab what the current time is for my timestamp. Finally, I want to read the daily note file. I want to append my logged item from the prompt to it. And then I want to modify and write back that daily note file to that note. So that's what's happening here. The content, my await is app.vault.read file. And then I'm splitting it into an array just for easy manipulation. Pointing out the await. There's an await on the prompt. There's a wait on this. That means that this code is asynchronous. A lot of people get caught up on this isn't working. Like Templator can rename files and move files, but those are all asynchronous. And if you do them without the awaits, it does it in the wrong order and everything gets borked. So just pay attention to what code is async or not. I'm not going to go into what that means, but you can look it up in the MDN docs. All I'm doing now is I'm finding the index of that log header, and then I'm splicing in the prompted item I give. And then finally, I'm writing that back to the daily note file that I found previously. Finally, if I can't find that file, you wrote a notice in the first half of this talk, and you can actually trigger notices in Templator as well. You just write new notice, and you can send yourself a, hey, there was no daily note found. So now I don't have to like go into the console and be like, why is this erroring? That's horrible. So in theory, I should be able to hit P, Templator, open insert template modal, hit log, and I can go, hey, Obsidian fam, enter that. And if I go back to my daily note, there it is logged under my log header.
That is pretty sweet. I mean, this is way beyond what I imagine you could do with like a something called Templator, right?
Oh,
This
it's basically, it's like a JavaScript engine inside Obsidian that you can run on Obsidian notes. And so yeah, it's like, it's not just for templates. It's like any kind of, so here's another one I was going to show that I didn't have time. So Templator, you can actually create a new note from template. I have one called IMDb, and I can say, I just watched the new Hellraiser, our October theme.
I need to
Just
watch
watch
that.
So I just type that in. This is hitting the IMDb API, grabbing a list of movies called Hellraiser. Let's see if I can find the 2022. It didn't return that one. So maybe my query. It asked me if I've watched it yet. I could say no, I haven't. Oh, through a Templator error. Okay, file already exists. Oh, because I already added this one. Okay. let me do a movie I haven't actually watched. What's a movie you want to watch?
Oh, that's a good question. Good question. I really am looking for the Wednesday series though on Netflix with the Addams Family, but I'm not sure if it's doing a TV series.
Yeah, let's just do. I think it's Addams or Addams. If it's smart enough, Addams Family.
Oh, let's do Addams.
I think it's 2 T's. Is it 2 D's?
2 D's.
Yeah, Addams Family. The Addams Family, 1991. Have I watched it yet? No. So then it creates this note for the Addams Family for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
I can also do Templator, open insert template modal. I can click update movie. When I've watched this movie, it's grabbing a list of any movies with the front matter of watched being no. I'm hitting this. I can give it a rating. I love this movie. I can give it a review. And I can say Wednesday is my fave. Boom. Watch changes to Y, and my rating and review are appended to the note.
This is awesome. But is this like part of Templator, or is this like a template that you wrote?
Basically? This is a template that I wrote. So if you go,
okay, just making sure.
Yeah, but it's just like you can do any of this stuff. And in fact, like if you're thinking of a plugin you want to write or create, you could actually for a lot of it blueprint it out as a templator command and a templator template, and then move it into the plugin syntax. Like once you're like, okay, yeah, I can do that. So there's a few things that you can't do in Templator that you can do in a plugin, like event management and like that sort of stuff that requires sort of the life cycle of a plugin. But for creating notes and hitting APIs and doing that sort of stuff, Templator is great.
So like if it's starting to feel to me like Templator, the name Templator is a very is like an understatement. This is more like a whole workflow engine, like for automating pretty much anything.
Yeah. Some people have said like Templator is the worst possible name because it's not just about templates. But the idea is that all of these are technically template notes. They live in my templates folder. So this is it. Don't steal my API key, folks. But this is the script that hits the IMDb API and does all that logic. So it's technically a template that I fire to run this JavaScript.
Wow, I'm definitely checking out Templator. I admit now I have to admit that I kind of brushed it aside a little bit because I was happy with the templates built in. And I thought that, well, I don't actually need more templates. Turns out it does much more than that. So I will definitely be checking that out.
Cool.
Uh,
And then once you've checked it out, you can start helping out on the plugin. See what I did
yes,
there? I just like segued us into, yeah,
I like
that
it. I like what you did.
almost like it was
Uh,
planned.
yeah. So like you said, you've been working as a a main contributor to Templator, and you've seen a lot of people helping out, and not all of them are contributing code, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it feels kind of ironic to go from showing a bunch of code to then saying like, you can help out on a plugin without writing any code. But you totally can as a user of a plugin. There's a lot of ways that you can contribute and help maintainers out as they try and like fix bugs or plan for improvements or do new versions. So we have a group. I've dubbed them the Templars, and they are people that are in the Discord and on the GitHub that have just been absolutely incredible in answering people's questions, helping them troubleshoot, filing bug reports, trying to reproduce bugs that other people report.
Right.
We get a lot of pebcac errors in Templator because it is kind of a complex, like it problem exists between chair and keyboard, whereas
Yeah.
it's not an issue with the plugin itself. It's actually a bug within the code that the person's written, and so having people help work through that is really useful.
Yeah, it's something I'm seeing, like for bigger open source projects, especially plugins where they get so popular, and at some point they become so complex that contributing code is not as easy anymore. You need to kind of dive into it to understand like how to actually make
Yeah,
changes. But at the same time, bugs get harder to reproduce. If someone comes to you and at this point, if you've handled all the obvious bugs, maybe, and now your people are starting to hit like more like trickier things, right? And that
yeah,
means that it's going to be harder for you as a maintainer to actually find out what's causing this thing.
yes,
And so helping the maintainer to figure that out is actually a significant contribution to that plugin.
Oh, it's I think that's actually more valuable than writing pull requests. To me, a pull request, for those who don't know, is if you've added an improvement or tried to fix something in the code, you open a pull request, which is meant to bring your fix into the code base. The problem with the pull request is I still need to review all the code you've written. I need to make sure it does what it's supposed to do, and I need to make sure it doesn't accidentally break something else in the code base. And so, like, it's great. I love pull requests. I love like people wanting to fix problems, but I think there's so much value in just like, so I have a label on GitHub issues called needs repro, and I put that label on any bug that is filed because it's like I need somebody else to go in there and tell and like reproduce this to say like this is something. And also because Obsidian is cross platform,
Right. I was gonna say, yeah,
it's like I have so many people filing bugs on Windows. I don't
yeah,
own a Windows
yeah. Me
computer.
neither. And
So
and it turns out that most of the, I think I saw some statistics on most of the Obsidian community are on Windows. So
yeah.
that's a big user group that I can't reproduce the bug unless I spend the money on a rig. And
Yeah, so it's I I think like that is, I probably wouldn't be sane if I didn't have this group. Like they're in the like AB 1908, like Luke, um like has done some great stuff. Ebullient, well PDX, who is in the GitHub and is amazing, who I have no idea who any of these people are, but they're like they keep me sane and just helping troubleshoot stuff, answer questions, push things forward, increase understanding of what the plugin can do, and some of the weird gotchas, because it is a pretty complicated beast.
Cool. So yeah, lots of good stuff there, and not just reproducing issues, but adding documentation, helping out support, answering questions, and unfortunately, it's not a traditionally in the open source community. A lot of projects they tend to prioritize code, but there's just so much you can do that is, and maintainers know this. It's just
Yeah.
not everyone contributing knows it. So thank you
And
so much.
yeah, like my hot take, especially for given the like nature of Obsidian October and what you're doing and showing plugins, is like, my hot take is don't start by writing a plugin. Start by getting involved in an existing plugin community, either a popular one or a smaller one that needs a little love, and learn the Obsidian API through that and helping people. And like, you don't have to know a ton of JavaScript. You don't have to. I'm not a developer, by the way. Like, I just love writing code for fun, and so yeah, it's
So I realize now, saying that that writing writing plugins is the first step is to actually start building templates.
build some templates.
Yeah.
Or yeah, and then like join Templator's got a thread in the plugin advanced channel in the Discord. I've been petitioning for us to be our own channel, kind of cheekily, but join the thread, ask some questions, get involved, start chatting, jump over to the GitHub repo, try to reproduce some bugs. If
Right.
you do have technical ability, another great thing is to like go to the open pull requests and pull them down and try to functionally test them on your computer. You don't have to read the code, you just need to know how to pull that in and build it, and run it in like a test vault so you don't lose your data. But even that is like, and then comment back, yeah, this works great, go for it, saves me so much time and having to like do all that stuff on my own.
Awesome. So we're coming up on the hour here.
Yeah.
So I want to see if we can find a few questions before we say goodbye for this week. I just want to pick this, and not really a question, but I love this, that it's the best way to start prototyping concept for plugins. So if you have
Yeah.
an idea for a plugin, start it out as a template and go from there.
Yeah. You know what's
I
funny?
actually didn't know that you can add ribbon and command palette stuff from there as well.
You can pretty much do anything. You can like open the console in the dev tools, type in app, hit return, and then start digging through that, because you can pretty much do anything as long as it's an exposed method in that dev console. You can do it in Templator. So
Mm,
what's funny is I actually started by writing a plugin, and I've slowly taken all the parts of that plugin and turned them into Templator scripts, because it's actually faster. It's a faster loop, right? Like, I can go in and mess with my script, and I don't have to rebuild. I don't have
right.
to, spin up my IDE and that sort of stuff. I could do it all in Obsidian.
So I have another question here. What is the future of Templator? If you can share a little, get us excited about the future of Templator.
Well, what I'm really excited about is, and what I'm hoping to do as part of Obsidian October, is to release Buttons 1.0. So the 1.0 version of the Buttons plugin, look for it. It's going to be super exciting. I'm just joking, Mark. Yeah, what is the future? So I think there's two things, because it isn't. I didn't write it, and I'm still even now getting familiar with it. My main thing is to fix some of the issues that keep repeatedly coming up. Like one uh, really bad one that we tried to fix and we broke everything was, if you have Obsidian open on your computer and you do it on your mobile phone, the sync is sometimes so blazingly fast that it syncs over the template commands when you create a new note from a template, and then the templater tries to run it in both places and it causes conflict. So stuff like that, I'm just trying to fix. I'm trying to make sure that anything we add does not break anything pre-existing. It's really important that anytime I release something new with Templator, it doesn't actually, like, I don't get a bunch of people being like, "Hey, you broke my workflow," because a lot of folks rely on this. And then I am looking for low hanging fruit, for little improvements I can make to the plugin that I feel confident. And I do look at pull requests and sort of review things that people bring. Love PRs that are about documentation and helping improve the docs. They're some of my favorite and easiest ones to accept. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you here. We will be back next week with another tutorial and a guest speaker interview. So stay tuned. We will be posting more details on the Discord channel, and you can find us on Twitter as well. Yeah, it's been great having you here. Thank you all for your wonderful questions and comments. Yeah, let's continue the conversation on Discord.
Yeah.
See you all
over there.
Bye bye.